What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Pattison Report podcast. I'm Brandon. That's Ryan. Never going to get that down. And this is this is the Super Bowl special that we have been kind of. It feels like teasing for 2 or 3 episodes at this point, but we did one right after Super Bowl, then we did our regular scheduled programming. Now it's finally time to spend the full half hour just on Eagles Chiefs Super Bowl topics. And we are going to run through pretty much every aspect of this thing, top to bottom. But first, Ryan, just your initial thoughts after seeing most of Media Week, which is a complete waste of time, but that's just me. What are the vibes like, you think, with this team?
I think the vibes are good. I know a lot of people were going over that jersey swap question. That was the big one where people were like, because the Chiefs didn't want to swap with anyone on the Eagles, and the Eagles were talking about, Travis Kelce, former teammates, stuff like that. I know people are making a big deal out of that. There was a lot of, it's just, yeah. I think they should go out there on Friday. I mean, our boy Gio, shout out the Geo Sports Podcast. He was asking great questions. He was asking great questions all week.
Yeah, he was actually one of the more educated media people, like actually asking meaningful questions. Like the one with Saquon was, what did you and Jalen do to build chemistry so quickly? Reed Blankenship was something about like never really looking back after getting the shot. Like it was really well thought out stuff. And then you see other reporters who don't understand who was on the roster at different points, and like it's, I don't know. I will say Gio is fantastic. Jameis Winston has been a goddamn star. I mean,
yeah,
the dude's awesome. Like the questions to Nick about where he should go, trying to throw W's at Travis Kelce and then missing, and him saying someone's always trying to intercept my shit. Like it's just great.
Yeah, it's built for media gold. I mean, Saquon said he should go to the Giants because
I forgot about that one. Good call.
Dable needs help him fix his game up, and people took that the wrong way. Really,
I didn't realize that Saquon and Daniel Jones were boys like that.
Yeah, he was in the box, his suite for the Commanders game.
Yeah, like I didn't realize they were that close. I mean, I guess there's no reason for them not to be, but I just didn't realize it.
Sterling Shepard too, and I mean, just because the team wasn't good doesn't mean they weren't close. So
that's true. We'll stay on that side of the ball, though. I want to go through position group by position group this week, as objectively as possible, even though this is a completely biased Homer podcast.
You're gonna get a lot of Homer answers. I'm kidding.
Yeah,
but I swear.
The more I was like thinking about it, like you look back at 22, the first time Eagles and Chiefs meet. Objectively, the Eagles probably should have won that one. I'm not even talking like refs, not refs, whatever. Like I mean, it was PI. It was a hold. It was. But I'm a big believer in 35 points should be enough to win a Super Bowl. If you're good enough to get there, your defense should be able to win you a game if the offense puts up 35. James Bradbury shouldn't get completely toasted and grab a jersey. Like that Eagles team in 22 was good enough to beat that Chiefs team. And when you look at these two teams back here 2 years later, I think this Eagles team has gotten better since 2022. I think the Chiefs have regressed in a way. They've gotten better defensively because they've had to. But they're definitely not the juggernaut dominant force that they were in that 22 season.
No, not at all. And, like you said, they did get better on defense. Their offense has been lacking. It just feels like it hasn't been there. Same with the Eagles all season, except, conference title game, they put up 55 points. The Chiefs put up 30 for the first time in last game. So the offenses are peaking, but I think this is going to be one of those long possession, grind them out kind of games. It just got that feeling to me where whoever has the ball last is obviously going to win, but whoever leads the time possession is also likely going to win. I know it's, typical, but it feels amplified here because these two teams just know how to go on these long, sustained drives over and over and over again. And then just
your
really
point with To your point, talking about the offenses and, neither team necessarily being, an offensive, show this year. I do think there's a little bit of a difference in how each team got there. The Eagles, by design, are a long drive, run the ball. Like, that is what their identity is. That's what they were designed to be. So nobody, I mean, at least I didn't expect this team to be putting up, 35, 38, 40 points a game once we realized who they were. I think if you're Kansas City, it was a little bit more out of necessity than design. Like, you don't have the weapons on the outside this year. Travis Kelce will go down as one of the best tight ends to ever do it. And he's far from washed. He has absolutely lost a step. So he's not that Gronk-esque, open all the time tight end he used to be. Obviously, when you lose Tyreek Hill, that's huge. They're lacking in weapons. Now, Patrick Mahomes makes up for an awful lot of that. But I think for the Eagles, you're happy if this game, you want to be long time of possession, a lot of ground game, maybe score high 20s, low 30s. That's kind of where you want to be. If you're the Chiefs, I don't think you want to get into a grinded out game with the Eagles. Not with Saquon Barkley. It's too easy for us to just to run the clock down.
Yeah, but at the same time, they want to keep that defense on the field. They want to keep them worn out because if these guys have fresh legs, it's going to be a long day. But as for the Eagles offense, we know it's all in the quarterback, but Jalen's going to have to make some really quick decisions. Spagnuolo runs a very blitz-heavy scheme. Bryce Young was talking about that today on one of the fantasy podcasts, or might have been NFL One on Radio Row. There's so many of them; they're all good. But he was talking about that and how the defenses are totally opposite.
Yeah,
one just rushes 4, one sends everything basically. So Jalen's going to make some quick reads. I hope Devontae Smith is going to be on his A game because he always seems to be against the Chiefs.
He also seems to be Jalen's hot read guy too.
The low ADOT, it's I believe 4 yards lower than AJ Brown, so he's gonna be the guy when the heat's coming. In the 3 games against the Chiefs, I believe it was 99, 102, and 120 some yards. So he averages over 100 yards a game against the Chiefs. All 3 games, he was within one the first game, so we'll give him that one. But he's been the guy. AJ Brown was kind of blanked in that one regular season game. He went off in the Super Bowl, caught that 45-yard touchdown to start the second quarter against Trent McDuffie. And it's just one of those things where Devontae showed out time and time and time again. And of course, we've talked about him all season. It's Saquon Barkley. Like, he's going to be the impact guy. And I don't know if you've seen, but the Chiefs have gone, I believe, 18 games without allowing a 100-yard rusher.
Yeah. I don't think they get through this one without. Put it this way: if Saquon doesn't rush for 100, I think the Eagles are in big trouble. So we're going to need to break that streak, or else it's going to be a pretty cut and dry night for us.
But we got 45 yards out of our running backs last time: Boston Scott, Kenny Gainwell, Miles Sanders, and they almost won. They got next to nothing. And I see a lot of the Chiefs' efficiency stats and how they're so great against the run. They looked very vulnerable until Buffalo had to go away from it. James Cook averaged 6.5 yards a carry. Joe Mixon looked good on the ground.
Yeah.
I mean, CJ Stroud had a 20-yard scramble. Like, they've been kind of getting got on the ground a little bit. Teams just have to go away from it because Patrick Mahomes puts that much pressure on you that you can't keep running the ball. And I was looking into this. Jalen has 14 300-yard passing games, 300-yard plus.
Mm-hmm.
2 of them are against the Chiefs. 2 of his 3 career games are 300-yard passing games against the Chiefs. The Super Bowl, and then I believe the regular season game where they beat them 2 years ago.
I mean, Jalen's shown he will win. He will win however he needs to win. And I think, this year in particular, he was almost a victim of his own success. That Super Bowl year, if you remember, I mean, he had a very legitimate MVP claim. You could argue he should have won it. And obviously last year was last year. I don't think no one thinks he was quite right physically. Then this year you come back and all he does is win, but he wins ugly. I mean, Saquon carries. There's games where Jalen will throw for 130 yards And he's always going to be compared to 2022 Jalen. And it's like, well, what happened to the arm? What happened to this? But he's also shown a couple of times that when he needs to dial it up, like he's a good passer. He throws a really nice deep ball for the most part. So I don't worry about that. Like I think if the game goes to a point where Saquon's not cooking and Jalen has to put the team on his back, I think he has all the tools to do that. I don't think that is the game plan. I don't think that's how we should go into this game. But if Saquon is getting stonewalled like Miles Sanders did back in 22, I still think that same Jalen Hurts is in there somewhere to sling it 20, 30, 35, 40 times all over the field and keep us in that game.
Yeah, I don't want that to be the outcome. I don't think it's going to be. I know Saquon's rushing yard line is high right now. I believe it's 110. I believe if he gets there, I think the team will be fine. The Chiefs haven't allowed a lot of long rushes this season. I believe they were tied for 5th or 6th least with about 6 of 20 plus. But they've given up 2 in the playoffs here. And they gave up another long play to James Cook out of the backfield, which Saquon has receiving prowess. I mean, remember that drop from week 2 against Atlanta the most, but he's an effective receiver when called upon. And I think that may be the case this Sunday as well. So
we talked a little bit about our offense, their offense. We touched a little bit on KC's defense just by default. You can't talk about offenses without, going to talk about who they're going up against. But when you put a microscope defense to defense, that's where I feel so much better this year than I did in 22. And it's part of the reason I have so much confidence this year. You look at that 22 team, which we thought at the time had a good defense, and we did. We had a really good pass rush that year. Hassan Reddick was a nightmare. Josh Sweat was coming into his own. You still had Fletch. BG was, a couple years younger and still getting after. You had some dudes on that defense who could get after the quarterback. But then you look inside and you realize that you're leaning on guys like Linval Joseph. You're leaning on guys like Ndamukong Suh. The secondary was what it was. Bradbury and Slay both had all-pro years that year, so you can't really blame the corners all that much. But I think, linebackers were better. Like, this year's defense is so much better than 2022's defense. Not to mention the maestro running it all, Vic Fangio, is in a different world completely from Jonathan Gannon.
Look, I want to dismiss the narrative so bad that I've been seeing going around that Vic Fangio is 0-8 against Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
It's not the same. And I see people, treating that as a trend. It's not a trend. Like, Vic Fangio was the coach of some not so great Broncos teams. And then he was the DC for Miami. They played them. And, what happened there? He got laughed out of town, which their losses are a gain. But
yeah, because Miami hated him because he made him actually play football.
In those games, Vic Fangio, his offenses gave him no help. They scored 11.9 points per game against Patrick Mahomes. That 11.9 is not going to fly in a regular game, let alone Patrick Mahomes. Like, you're going to lose every time.
He never had a shot.
Patrick Mahomes scored 2 times on you. It's just going to happen. So we're in such a better spot right now. Vic Fangio has just been an absolute just treasure to find. Did you see that interview of the Eagles account asking him questions, and when he didn't want to answer, he just threw it to the ground?
Yeah.
He just looked it off, just threw it to the ground.
I want to know what was on that card so bad.
I think there was 2 of them that he threw to the ground, but offenses are doing them absolutely no favors the first couple of times. I don't think that's going to happen this time with Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and just, the talent there. Miami had the talent too, but they traveled to KC, and how they played in cold weather, that whole narrative. But the one thing that I want to highlight the most, I read a PFF article today. I'm very happy that I looked at it. Mm-hmm. Remember what crushed us last time? It was motion.
Yeah.
The 2 motion touchdowns to Darius Toney and Sky Moore.
Well, motion and absolutely no pressure. No.
Yep. The field was slippy, and I have facts on the field to get to later as well. But in motion this year, the Chiefs still running a heavy dose, of course, but the Eagles, yards per play and EPA first in both categories against motion. So I feel a lot better this year that we match up a lot better with the Chiefs. So my confidence level in the defense, it's going to be a defensive chess match. I hope people are ready for that. I don't think
And
it's
it's
going to
two
be
of the best to do it. I mean, like you can't take Spags for granted. He is a great
some
DC. We
someone's
just
got to
also have one.
someone's got to hire that man just to take him away from Kansas City.
I don't think he has that. Remember how Jim Schwartz was with us, who I think don't get me wrong, Vic Fangio is a better DC. Jim Schwartz was a very good defensive coordinator here.
Except when he played sticks.
Yeah, but you know what?
There was a couple times. I'm not discrediting him, but there's a couple times that stick out in my memory. Was that like a 4th and 18 or 4th and 20 against
Tennessee?
Tennessee?
Would always play sticks and would always backfire. Because we weren't a good tackling team at the time.
He was a fantastic coordinator though, but there's just some moments that just stick out in my memory.
But it was similar where, I think because he was our DC for what, 4 years?
It was a while.
Yeah. And every year he would put together great defenses, and then there'd be the head coaching carousel, and he would never interview. And he just didn't really have any interest in being a head coach again because he'd done it and he failed. Spags, I think, is in that same boat. Vic Fangio is old enough; he has no interest in going back and doing it again.
Vic's home.
I think Spags is like Jim Schwartz, where been there, tried that, didn't like it. I'm sure he's more than taken care of in KC. And why go be a head coach and fail when you're one of the best in the world at what you do?
Oh, I know. I'm just saying. I mean, he's going to rack up Super Bowls. If they lose this one, hopefully they do. They're going to get another one at some point if he keeps coaching. We'll see how long him and Andy go on, but
we'll get to them in a second. Coaching is one of the topics.
That's why I don't have concern about Vic. Like Vic was talking about Dunmore Pizza. Like he's home.
Yeah, this is where he wants to be.
He's gonna retire here, and maybe he retires after 1 year, gets the Super Bowl, rides off in the sunset. I wouldn't be all too hurt if it's a win. He's probably gonna keep coaching if they lose. I think he's still gonna coach anyway.
He's gonna coach anyway. He loves this shit, dude. You can.
He loves it. I'm just throwing it out there that he is older in age, but
you can tell he's having fun.
He is having fun, and I mentioned the pass rush. The pass rush, I think it's definitely better on the interior. Big respects to Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh. They had excellent NFL careers. They were just at the end when they came to Philadelphia. There's nothing you can do about that.
Was there an injury issue? Because we picked them up along the way, and at the time, there
was. I just forget who it was.
They gave us everything left in the tank. I'm not putting this.
I'm not bashing them at all.
They played pretty well for veteran D tackles in their upper 30s. Mm-hmm. But they're also not Milton Williams, Jordan Davis, and Jalen Carter either.
I mean, I'd even throw Moro Jumbo in there. He's been really good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, all 4 of the guys that we have running right now would be ahead of those 2 on a depth chart. So the interior is so much better.
And this game is being played on artificial turf.
Yeah. So there's no over watering or any of that bullshit.
So I got a stat. I pulled this one from the Twitter machine. Mm-hmm. The Eagles are 5-0 on artificial turf this season. Haven't lost a game. They're allowing 11 points per game. Sure, there's some. I got to make sure I have the exact list of teams. So the 2 big ones, the Rams, obviously, when we visited them in LA, and then the Bengals when we visited them in Cincinnati and shut down their impressive offense. And then there's the Saints, who obviously were coming off that 2-week high.
And we're back there again. We're at the Saints, essentially.
Yep, of course. And then the Giants and the Cowboys, which So we're 5-0. We're not allowed any points. And the Chiefs lost their only game on turf, I'm pretty sure, against Buffalo, and they went to Buffalo. So they're 0-1. The Eagles are 5-0. That's not a huge stat to look at, obviously, but it's food for thought. I'll throw some facts at you.
Yeah, no, we have a very young, very fast defense, so it does track that when they have the best grip available that they shine. Before we move off of defense, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on. We've talked about the interior. I think we can universally agree that the secondary's improved. The linebackers are improved. There's not too much of a question there. If you had to look at our edge from 22 and our edge now, that's, I think, where the gap is probably the closest. And then you could very well argue that 22 might have been a little bit stronger on the edge than we are right now.
Yeah, I think we could agree on that one, but the interior just makes up for it. I mean, Josh Sweat's still there.
Nolan Smith has come on.
I wish Bryce Huff was a factor. I'm still hoping for him in year 2. I was a big fan of the signing. And Jalix Hunt, I think Jalix Hunt's going to quietly have a big game.
Yeah, and then you got BG back in whatever capacity that would be.
Yep.
The hard part is there's nobody, as much as I think Josh Sweat's earned himself a fat payday this offseason. Unfortunately, I don't think it'll be with us.
Arizona needs an edge. I think he's going to go reunite with Gannon.
Yeah. And then Nolan Smith, what he's done the back half of the season has been nothing short of a miracle and it's a season saver, really, for the Eagles.
Really.
But there just isn't Hassan Reddick on this team.
No. But we're going to talk about this later. Obviously, I just want to throw it out there now. It is an historic edge draft class. All you can want at edge. So we'll talk about that in the future, but I'll just throw that out there as a little tidbit.
Yeah, we'll worry about that after the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, like, help could potentially be on the way, and knowing Howie, what he values, it will be. So
yeah, so this will be a quick one because I want to wrap up with coaching, but we got to address special teams in a Super Bowl where it's a rematch of a game that was won by a field goal at the last second. We'd be remiss to not bring up special teams. As much as, like off the field aside, this season, I do think if you have to have a little bit more confidence in Kansas City's unit, unfortunately.
Yeah.
As much as I like Jake Elliott, and I think this year is probably just a blip on the radar, and he's still a fine kicker. I think they might have the edge when it comes to special teams this year. With Jake, you never really know, and that's not a great quality to have in a kicker.
Yeah, special teams was a big proponent of why they won the first game as well. That big Kadarius Toney return that got him down to like the 5.
Yeah.
So special teams, I'm definitely giving the edge to them. Cooper DeJean is an explosive returner. He showed in college. I don't like him doing it. I still don't.
Well, when Covey's healthy, he won't. It just sucks that he by force he has to be back there.
Yeah, because I think if something bad were to happen to him, like even a minor injury that keeps him out for a little bit, I think it really diminishes the defense and just how good he is. I think he's probably the best nickel in the league right now. So,
I'm with you. I'd sooner have what's his face, Kenny and Shipley. Yeah, I'd sooner have them taking punts and kicks. I get DeJean's experienced and more sure-handed, but you're right, dude. Like, he changes the game if we lose him on defense.
I mean, if he goes back there and fair catches all game, fine. It is what it is. Like, I mean, if he's just out there to fair catch,
yeah,
cool. He's sure-handed. He'll catch the ball, not take a hit, go over to the bench. But yeah, special teams is definitely on the side of Kansas City. But the big thing that I want to talk about in general, which encompasses all 3 units, it's the turnovers. Turnovers aside of the first game, turnovers are the biggest reason why the Eagles are sure they haven't turned the ball over yet. I don't think Kansas City has either. They might have a fumble or 2 that I'm forgetting about. I think they might. I'll give a look at that. But whoever turns the ball over most, I mean, obviously, it's gonna probably lose. It's just Patrick Mahomes always seems to come up big in these big spots. Special teams, you can't afford a fumble there.
Yeah.
Philly has mastered the art of the peanut punch. We talked about this. If they could get one of those receivers on the edge, like say Xavier Worthy and Cooper DeJean and Zach Bond get in there, I mean, it could be a big momentum swing for the Eagles. So,
yeah, the Chiefs. The Eagles have played a clean season this year. Like, I think we can agree on that part, and maybe this is just me being a little bit cynical because it's our own team. But when I think of the Chiefs, they make you play perfect football.
Yes.
Much the way we do to other teams, but they've done it for so long. Andy's such a great coach. Pat Mahomes has seen everything at this point. Like, they make you play a perfect 4 quarters of football. Because look at 22. That's been the theme of today. I thought Jalen Hurts played one of the best quarterback Super Bowls you could possibly play. He made one mistake, and you lose that game.
Yep.
I mean, that's how razor thin the margins are when you're playing Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid.
I'd argue Brady in the second half of that 28-3 was the best. If you want to isolate halves there, but best we've probably ever seen in our lifetimes. It feels like.
Yeah, I mean, he came storming back. But remember, he was human in that first half.
Yeah, that was ridiculous, and obviously, but it's just one of those things where it's just such a little thing. One miscue could turn the whole game. I mean, that same PFF article, the interior production or the interior line production for the Chiefs hasn't been the greatest of recently. We've been highlighting the D line of the Eagles, the interior.
Yeah.
Maybe Jalen Carter could come up with an MVP. I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's going to be birthday boy Saquon. So, like,
yeah. But you're right. Since they had to kick Joe Tooney outside, I mean, there's a weakness on the inside of that KCO line.
Mm-hmm.
And then to wrap it up, there's a lot of talk about, obviously Nick Sirianni and what kind of coach he is. And, I've been hard on him on this show. I think that he, sometimes isn't always the greatest ambassador for the Eagles. What I will say is he has, it's not a fluke anymore. This is year 4, and he's one of the winningest head coaches through 4 seasons of football in the history of the NFL. Is it unorthodox? Absolutely. But it's not an accident anymore. Nick Sirianni is a good football coach. The tricky part, and we have great coordinators. Kellen Moore's had a very good year. Vic Fangio is one of the best to do it as a DC. And any other matchup, I'm sitting here feeling really good about our staff. Outside of, the Rams, Sean McVay, he's a better coach than Nick Sirianni. It's just Andy Reid is in the Bill Belichick conversation of NFL head coaches.
Yeah, off a bye, Andy Reid's ridiculous. We should obviously get the week off between the Super Bowl and the conference championship. So he's going to scheme up something. I hope Kellen Moore's head is completely in the game. It'd be really awkward to lose a coordinator to the team where we played the Super Bowl at 2 or 3 years. It'd be kind of weird. And, I think Kellen's going to take that job. I think it's over. So I just hope he's locked in. Gannon gets a little bit of tough looks going back to that Super Bowl as he wasn't completely locked in, the whole tampering thing, getting the picks. I hope Kellen Moore's locked in because I think that's where we have the advantage, not over Spags, but over Matt Nagy. I think Kellen Moore is a better coordinator than Matt Nagy is.
Matt Nagy brought one of the most high-flying, high-powered offenses in the NFL
down
to a grinding halt in one season.
Yeah, and it's not like the Chiefs don't have options. Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy's come on as of late. Like Travis Kelce's probably saved himself for the postseason, which justifiable, but
yeah,
you got options there, and it just didn't have the season they wanted to. They grind it by with wins against, the Broncos on that last second field goal. Like they always just got it done.
The Raider game, you think back to?
Razor thin. Like there's so many of them against teams that the Eagles would, host and blow out by 28. Like I know division games are different, but man, oh man, I'm trying to rationalize why the Eagles are underdogs. And I know it's because the Chiefs get it done every time, like all the time. I think the Eagles have a better roster. I think they're outmatched in coaching. The coaching edge goes to KC with Andy Reid, Spagnuolo, but Vic Fangio isn't far behind in that regard as a DC, but it's just we'll see how the game plays out. I mean, it's going to be a stressful one for the two fan bases, and it's going to hopefully be a great watch for every other one because I think people are hating a little too much. They're like, oh, the Eagles and Chiefs again. Dude, the first 58 minutes of that game were generational. Like, that was must-watch TV for the first 58 minutes. And then the end came down in the end. It was a flag. People weren't happy, obviously, but if there wasn't that flag, it would have been a fantastic ending, no matter how it went down.
Yeah, and I mean, look, I think, and I could be wrong, I think overall the issue is less with our attendance and more with KC being back again. I think if it was Eagles-Bills, the vibe around the game would be completely different.
Oh, yeah, people going through tables like nonstop. I mean,
what's up? Oh,
people
exactly.
Going through, there'd be a table shortage.
Yeah. But it's also fun. Like, I mean, especially as an Eagle fan, like you look back and it felt like nobody could stop the Patriots, and we did. And then now you're looking at it again. It's like, God, this Chiefs dynasty thing's getting real old. I wish somebody would just end it. And it's up to the Eagles again to do it.
Yeah, but the thing is, if the Eagles get this win and say, the Lions hire good coordinators and they make it next year and the Chiefs make it, The Patriots won it right after again. Like so we just gave him a little stop sign, or like
Yeah.
stop, like that rock meme where he just holds up his hand and it's like, how are you going to stop this? That's what we did to the Patriots dynasty. We put them on pause.
Yeah, but
Which,
I mean, hey, this Eagle team will be right back here next year. I don't think we're going to lose a whole lot. We're young finally.
Yeah, I mean, the whole defense is revamped. AJ's under contract, reading his inner excellence. I mean, Devontae's
I got
under
that
contract.
book.
I'm reading the audio version's free on Spotify, so I'm going through it right now.
Nice.
so this team outside of Lane Johnson, of course, BG.
Well,
I mean,
Lane said he's back.
Yeah, Lane's back, but like he's getting older. That's what I mean. I know BG's not going to be back, and we're going to lose pieces like you said. Josh Sweat, Milton's going to get an absolute fat payday. Like,
I think you got to. We'll talk. We'll talk about this in the offseason. I think you got to find a way to keep one of them. You pick one, but you got to find a way to keep one.
Yeah, and then Zach Bond, of course. But we'll talk about more of the roster in the offseason. That I can't stop talking about it because it's what excites me, like roster building and everything. But
yeah. But
we got to talk about the big game. We got to wrap this up because.
Yes. So, what do you think? Big game score prediction and who is? I'm going to say who's your MVP, not who you think is going to win it, because the easy choice is Saquon or Jalen, because it always is that way. But what do you think the score is going to be, and who is going to be the key, the reason we win it?
Look, first off, I just want to say I'm so mad at myself. It was 2 weeks ago. Saquon Barkley MVP was plus 700. I should have just taken that to the house. Like I should have. But so I write weekly articles for a site, The League Winners. I write about the Eagles. I have picked them to lose once all season. I'm not starting now. I mean, the loss that I picked was the Tampa Bay game, which obviously they were depleted going into that. Yada yada yada. Who knows what would have happened if we played them? But the Chiefs have beat the better team 2 years in a row now. I think the Eagles are better than them in 22. I think it was closer. The margins were closer. I think that San Fran roster last year was one of the best rosters ever assembled. Like in terms of roster building, it was up there. I think the Eagles are better than that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take the Eagles. I think they're going to win by 3 points. So help me, last second field goal, Jake Elliott. I think it's going to be 31-28. I think there's going to be green confetti dropped in New Orleans, and, we're just going to have a great time. And my MVP, I highlighted earlier, of course, I think Saquon Barkley's going to win it, obviously. Yeah. That's not my pick, though. I really want to pick Cooper DeJean. I really do think I think he's going to have a big impact in this game. But I'm going to go with another – actually, come back to me on that one. I'm going to think. I was going to say Jalen Carter, but I feel like it's too obvious.
Okay. I think we're on the same page. I think it's going to be close. I don't think it's going to be a last-second win. So I'm going to go 28-24 Eagles. I think the Chiefs, I think the way it's going to come down, the Chiefs are going to have a lead. The Eagles will go up 28-24, and we're going to get the ball back with 6 minutes or so in the fourth, and KC's not going to touch it again. I think it's going to be one of those in-your-face, we have Saquon and you don't, kind of game icing drives. My MVP is also going to be on the defensive side, but I think it's going to be Zach Bond. He has been everywhere at once. He's going to have to be again. The Chiefs are, when you look at run after yards after catch, the Chiefs are one of the best around at doing it. He is one of the surest tacklers I've ever seen as an Eagle. So I think he is going to have a field day with over 10 tackles and another forced fumble.
It's hard to disagree with that. Like I said, I was going to go with Jalen Carter, but I feel like it's too obvious. So I'm going to go super, super dark horse. Okay. I'm going to go Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I think he's going to bring the attitude this game. I think he's not going to get an interception because Patrick Mahomes never throws them.
Yeah.
But I think he's going to get one of those big run stuffs on Kareem Hunt or Isaiah Pacheco to turn the momentum of the game. And I think he's going to have a big pass breakup and a deep pass to Xavier Worthy that kind of swings the momentum in the Eagles' favor as well. So I think he's going to be an unsung hero. I'm going to pick him for MVP. I want to pick Jalen Carter because obviously he's Jalen Carter. But I'm going to go Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. He's going to have a big impact, and I'm excited. I think I think I'm more nervous for this one than I was for 22.
I think I agree with you. In 22, I was happy to be there. I didn't think that team that year was going to go. So it was like, man, how cool is this that we're here? But it's the Chiefs. Let's see what we can do. And, obviously the game was close and it was a heartbreaker. But I didn't leave devastated. I left feeling like this team will be back. The difference is this team is now back, and you know how hard it is to get to multiple Super Bowls, let alone 3 with
Let alone one.
with one roster.
Let alone one. You see all these teams in the past saying, "Oh, we'll get back there." Dan Campbell last year.
Yeah,
see what happened this
not.
year. They took a bunch of injuries. There's a couple of teams. Andrew Luck's Colts almost got there. They said, "Oh, we'll be there." Andrew Luck's great.
Mm-hmm.
Never made it. So it's so hard to reach the Super Bowl, and Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady really, really diminish that fact.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just one of those things where I totally agree with you. So
this year feels a little bit more like you want this group of guys to get it. You really want Jalen to get one. And it's like, how many quarterbacks can say they've been to 3 with their same? So he's already at 2. You don't know if he'll ever get back. So I want this team to do it right now. I feel the same way about this team that I did about the Phillies. You can feel the clock ticking a little bit, and you want to get it done right away. So I'm with you with the nervousness.
Yeah, the nerves are definitely up, and to watch Saquon growing up at Penn State, like it just feels so special, man. Like
Vic Fangio's home, like you're right. BG's swan song.
Have you seen the TikToks?
Oh, was of Saquon?
There's a couple of them. There's the Avengers ones where it took 2 times to beat Thanos. That was cool. But then there was one that got me real in my feels. It was set to "Good Riddance, Time of Your Lives" by Green Day. And it was just like all the troubles that they went through. Like Devontae's too small. AJ had those mental struggles. Saquon's injury struggles. Jalen's not good enough. And I was like, dang, this is going to feel better than 2017. And I'm completely honest with you right now.
Blasphemous.
2017 was so special, but I think
it was the first one.
It was the first one, but I think this group is what makes it so special. I don't want to diminish
out of your goddamn mind.
I don't want to diminish 17 at all, but like there's just something about this group of guys where, like I get into scouting, Saquon's on the team. I know it was the first one, was immaculate, and they're going to do it again. Imagine the only 2 Super Bowls in your franchise history coming against the 2 best quarterbacks of all time. Like the story is right there to be written. And like I said, I just think it's extra special with Devontae Smith saying, like I said, too small. Saquon Barkley coming from hometown, basically. Vic Fangio's home. Like Jalen Hurts got subbed out for 2 in that national championship game if they won. Like Zach Bond wasn't good enough to be a starter. It's all right there. Quinyon Mitchell played at Toledo. Like I could do this. I could do this all night. Like
it's all right there in front of them, and then we will find out on Sunday if they decide to take it. But remember these dark horse MVPs. They're the MVPs. The media is too afraid to pick.
It's gonna be Saquon in the fan vote. I guarantee you. Like unless he doesn't have a great game, then it's up in the air. But he's Saquon Barkley.
It'll probably be Saquon if they win, but we'll find out. We will do a recap probably soon after the Super Bowl. I doubt we'll make you guys wait till the Thursday after. And hopefully it is a jubilant one. But in the meantime, I'm Brandon. That's Ryan. Go Birds.